Hello and welcome back, adventurers. This is Captain TTRPG, and today we're talking about Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
Welcome back, adventurers. Today I want to talk about a new mechanic introduced with BATTLECRY. Well, a new mechanic, a new archetype, a combination. The followers. Not only are we going to talk about them, but I'm going to rank them. Now, I want to be clear, this might be my last BATTLECRY video. I'm not sure. We'll see. But this is something I felt I needed to talk about, even if it's not going to apply to every character build, or, there's going to be people who aren't interested in this, but I think it's interesting enough to talk about. Now, in this ranking, I'm not going to be ranking them from S to D. I'm not even going to be giving them star ratings. No, I'm going to rank the 5 followers against each other from best to worst. So we'll talk about each one and then start lining them up and see how it all plays out. Before I do that, though, I should probably give you a rundown of what followers are all about. Followers are a new type of companion, similar to animal companions, the Inventor's Construct companion, and everything in that kind of genre. In order to gain access to followers, you have to take the Captain archetype. Now, keep in mind, this can be taken by anybody. It doesn't have to be a free archetype situation. You can just take it, and I think there's good reason that you might want to, actually, right? Because you can choose to take a dedication and archetype feats in place of taking your class feats, and sometimes that might actually be very worth it, especially for a lot of casters who maybe don't get the strongest feats. This could be a really interesting choice instead of that, but it could be for anybody. I don't want to deep dive into the actual Captain archetype right now. Maybe I'll do that in a later video, but I probably won't, so instead I'm going to talk about some of the important things here. When you take the dedication for Captain, you are going to get a follower at level 2. You'll choose which of the followers you want, and you'll gain that follower. The follower is going to be a minion, like animal companions are, and things like that. It is possible to get multiple followers, by the way, but I'm going to be evaluating them as if you just took one of them, which I think is probably a good way to go anyway. At level 4, you can take a feat that takes your follower from their base level up to their experienced level, and we'll talk about what all that means, but it's important to understand when you can get this available to yourself. That's at level 4. At level 8, you can take the feat that makes them a veteran, and at level 14, you can make them exceptional. You notice that these are the same levels at which Beastmaster could improve their Beast Companion with the statistical upgrades that they normally get. So there's a lot more to Captains than just that. I think it's a great archetype, and like I said, I might make a video about it once this is out, but I probably won't, so we'll see. It is a very, very good follower archetype if you want to take one. So then how do we work with our followers? Well, in this case, you're going to take the direct follower action. This gives the followers 2 actions by using one of your own. The set of actions a follower can take is pretty much the set of base actions a character can take. Things like stride, strike, step, leap, and then they get those that are listed. So they're going to have listed actions on their stat block, essentially. They can also use skill actions, untrained or trained skill actions, if they actually have the proficiency for it, and they will definitely get skill proficiencies. They're also going to be trained in all saves and perception. Outside of combat, they won't do a whole lot, but they will stay with you and follow you to the best of their ability, but they're not going to be able to take certain actions outside of combat, meaning exploration activities, unless they're taking them for you. You can't take them and have them take them. Like with animal companions, there are many attributes that we need to consider with a follower. So what do their strikes look like? What are their ability score modifiers? What are their hit points that they get a starting amount? Now you're always going to gain 6 plus con mod after their level 1, but like their initial starting health is something to look at because it will differ. They get an armor kit. This is a level of armor plus dexterity bonus to figure out their total AC. You've got your trained skills, your follower ability, which is a special thing per follower. Sometimes they even get special mechanics, not always, but sometimes they do. You get the experienced advancement, which is what you would get if you increase them at level 4, your veteran advancement, which is what happens when you upgrade them at level 8, and your exceptional advancement, which is what happens if you upgrade them at level 14. Well, that's going to be a lot to keep track of, but we're going to try to keep track of it as we go so we can evaluate them against each other and rank them against one another. Let's go ahead and dive in with the first of the followers, which is the Berserker. So Berserkers are going to have a starting HP of 8, which we'll find is going to be high. The starting attribute modifiers are Strength plus 3, Con plus 2, and Charisma plus 2. Your armor is you're gonna get a plus 3 bonus from your armor and a dex cap of 2 added onto that. Notice we didn't have any plus to our dex. just something worth mentioning. Your skills are athletics, intimidation, and warfare lore that you got to start trained in. You get a melee strike, which is one action. It's a falcon. This has the forceful and sweep traits. It's a 1d10 slashing. Plus, keep in mind you have a +3 to your strength, so you are going to get a 1d10 +3 melee strike out of this creature. Your ability is that when you take damage, you get a +1 to the next damage roll before the end of your next turn. So if your Berserker's up there taking hits, it's going to be adding 1 more damage onto its next strike. The experienced upgrades, so when you hit level 4, you're going to get your strength up to +4, your con up to +3. Remember, the con does increase the amount of hit points you get per level. Your fortitude and will saves will go to expert. Your falcon will go to 2d10 instead of 1d10. And your follower ability, that +1 you got to the damage roll, that becomes a +2 to the damage roll. So you don't have to wait long for that. That's nice. Then at level 8, your veteran upgrades, your con's going to go to +4. Your wisdom's going to go to +1, and your charisma's going to go to +3. Your item bonus from your armor, remember it had a +3 bonus before, it has a +4 bonus now. You still aren't getting anything from Dex. We still haven't gotten a plus to Dex. Your perception goes to expert. All 3 of the skills we talked about at the beginning go to expert. Your strikes go to expert, increasing your chance to hit, and you gain a +1 to hit above that. Plus, they become magical for the purposes of overcoming things, and gain a +3 to damage. So now, right, you've got a higher strength. You got a strength +4. You've got an extra +3 then from this. So great, you're at a +7, and you've got a better chance to hit, and they're doing 2d10, so pretty solid strikes. Your follower ability then, instead of +2, is now a +3 to the next damage roll. You gain a new feature, actually, at level 8 here, which is Reckless Attack. This is a free action once per turn when you command the follower. So you're using your action to command, you also can choose to use Reckless Attack. This means that you gain a +1 to the next attack roll that your Berserker does, but your Berserker becomes off guard until the next turn starts. And finally, the level 14 exceptional upgrades. Your strength is going to go to +5, your dex to +1, finally. Wisdom goes to +2, and charisma to +4. The AC bonus from your armor goes to a +5. Your fortitude and will saves go to master. Reflex goes to expert, and you gain a +1 to all saving throws. Your athletics is going to go to master. Your falcon strikes are going to get a +2 to attack. They're going to go to 3d10. And you're going to go from +3 damage from the magical strike thing to +6 damage. Your follower ability goes from +3 to +4 damage to the next strike. And your follower's going to gain a reaction when you give them one action to use. This reaction can be used for exactly one thing, which is share the pain. When the Berserker is critically hit by a creature within melee, it can make a melee strike as a reaction against that creature. This is without a doubt the melee damage follower, which is pretty obvious from what they got there. The damage die of being a d10 is really great to start, and the plus strength modifier means you're going to be doing pretty solid damage just out the gate. By level 4, it's going to feel really good. The ability, unfortunately, is terrible. +1 damage to your next strike at level 2, +2 at level 4. We're adding on very minimal considering the amount of damage that's already happening. So you're saying, great, I don't feel as bad maybe about taking damage, but I'm not dealing that much in return. So that ability is just feels weak as far as abilities go. Granted, you're already doing a lot of damage, so maybe that's why. Then there's the AC issue. You have a +3 from armor at level 2 when you get this, with a +2 from dex that you're never filling out. I mean, you don't get a +1 dex until endgame, which means your AC is awful. This is made worse by Reckless Attack, making you off guard, which is nice for damage, but it means that you're going to be crit all the time. And keep in mind, this is a creature, a follower, that is up front, always. It has to be making melee strikes. So you're inviting yourself to be critically hit from the beginning. Yes, you've got some more hit points up front with your 8 HP. That's not going to make up for being crit more often than anything else. So just keep in mind, you might be working pretty hard to keep your follower alive, assuming the GM's going to target followers. And while some GMs may not have focused on animal companions as much or something, they might focus on another humanoid just on the battlefield. But again, you're trying to offset high damage with being a little squishier. Maybe this is all you're looking for, somebody to pump out a lot of damage with you, and that's okay, right? We've got a lot of situations where this might be great, considering they are a melee fighter. They could be flanking with you if you're also melee, Or you might want them running up and at least distracting from enemies and taking hits if you're a caster in the back. There's a lot of reasons you might take a follower like this. In any case, this is our top of the line follower right now because it's the only one. So let's see if it'll stay at the top as we jump into the medic. Our starting HP for the medic is 6. Our attribute scores are +2 dex, +1 con, +1 int, and +3 to wisdom. A wider spread here. Your armor is a +1 with a dex cap of +4. Your skills are medicine, nature, survival, and herbalism lore. Your strike, well, you get a melee strike that is using your scalpel, which acts as a dagger. It has agile, deadly d8, finesse, and versatile S for slashing because it does 1d4 piercing. Your ability for the medic is it has battle medicine. Yep, the battle medicine feat. Very cool. So it's going to be able to heal you and allies in combat. When you get to level 4, the experienced upgrade, you get wisdom up to +4, your dexterity to +3, your fortitude and will saves go to expert, your medicine goes to expert as well, your scalpel goes to 2d4 +1 persistent bleed or 1d6 persistent bleed on a crit. Once per day, you can use battle medicine on an immune ally. Because keep in mind, battle medicine can only be used once per ally per day normally. So this gives you one more use for one ally per day. Veteran upgrades. We're at level 8 now, so your dex goes to +4, your strength goes to +1, and your con goes to +2. Your armor bonus goes to +2, and your perception goes to expert. Medicine goes to master, the other skills you started with go to expert, and you get a +1 to medicine checks, which is an item bonus. Strikes go to expert and gain a +1 to hit, which like what we saw with the other at level 8. They become magical, just like we saw with the Berserker, and you get a +2 to damage, not a +3, but you do get a +2 to damage. The medic also gains a new feature called Medic's Treatment. This is one action, and you have to have a medical kit on you, but you're the medic, so you will. You use this to attempt to counteract one of 4 conditions of an adjacent ally, either clumsy, enfeebled, sickened, or stupefied. If you critically succeed, it drops by 2, a success drops it by 1, however, a critical fail will make it worse by 1 level. So just keep that in mind. Finally, we get the exceptional upgrade at level 14. Your wisdom goes to +5, your intelligence to +2, your strength to +2, and your con to +3. You get an AC item bonus of +3 now. Your fortitude and will saves go to master, reflex goes to expert, and all of these gain a +1 item bonus to saves. You get an item bonus to your medicine checks of +2. Your acrobatics go to expert out of nowhere. You just suddenly have expert in acrobatics. Your scalpel attack goes to a +2 to hit and becomes 3d4 with a +2 to damage going to +4 to damage. And the bleed goes from 1 to 2 or 1d6 to 2d6 on a crit. Once per hour, you can use battle medicine on an immune ally. Okay, that becomes much stronger. You also gain a new action called Quick Treatment. This is one action. It's once per round. The medic will stride and use battle medicine, or treat poison, or medic's treatment, which is of course the thing we talked about that you gain at level 8, or administer first aid. So these are all medicine-based activities, and being able to do a stride with one, all at one action cost, is actually pretty strong. So this takes our follower in a completely different direction, right? Does your party lack a healer or anybody willing to go on the medicine path? This follower won't be doing high damage, at least not reliably. It will gain a better AC, a little faster than the Berserker did, but it still starts off with a terrible AC, which isn't going to help it, and it's got pretty low HP to start. Well, not too much lower, it's just got 2 lower, but still, it is lower. So be careful getting your medic into melee. It certainly seems to be a follower that's meant to hang back and keep the party healed up, but you may have to get into melee to actually battle medicine people because they might be up front, the ones taking the most damage. This is a solid purpose for a follower to have, healing everybody up, but it isn't doing much when everybody's doing fine. Honestly, you may not want to do much with your follower for most of the battle. You start out, everybody's full health, and you could send your follower up to try to scalpel things, but you're likely to get crit, just like the Berserker was, and you're not going to do a lot of damage. So I guess you could just ignore having your follower at the beginning of combat when nobody's hurt? Sure, but then why do you have them? The value of this follower will entirely depend on the party makeup, more so I'd say than the Berserker does, and the challenge of your adventure. In a very difficult adventure, I could see this being useful, though then you probably are more likely to get crit. Otherwise, it may not be that big a deal. Also, Battle Medicine is great, so I do like the ability. That ability is way better than Berserker's ability, which is terrible. Just in the end, Battle Medicine isn't used all the time or can't be used all the time, so you're only going to get so much use out of this follower, and it's just not somebody you want to send into combat for any reason. I mean, yes, if you do crit, it'll be okay, but you're not going to be critting a lot with this follower. Or any follower. So, your regular hits are pretty terrible. Looking at this in the Berserker, I'm going to say the Berserker is actually the stronger of these two followers. So, unfortunately, the medic is dropping behind. But who knows, maybe it'll still be our second strongest as we jump into the Scout. The Scout starts with 6 hit points, just like the medic. The attribute modifiers are +3 to Dex, +1 to Con, +1 to Strength, and +2 to Wisdom. Your armor bonus, you get +1 to item bonus and +4 to your Dex cap, so we're starting with a little higher AC here. Your skills are Acrobatics, Stealth, Survival, and a location or terrain lore of your choice. Your strikes are melee only, 1 action, short sword. This is Agile, Finesse, and Versatile S, does 1d6 piercing. Your ability is you do 1d4 extra precision damage to off-guard enemies, so very roguelike here. They have a special as well, as part of their class. This follower can scout in exploration without using up your exploration ability. So I said at the beginning, followers, it's either you or them can use an exploration ability, while the scout can scout while you are doing an exploration ability. So if there's some out-of-combat utility here. Level 4, the exceptional upgrades. Your Wisdom goes to +3, your Dex to +4, so you've already filled out your AC by level 4. Your Reflex and Will saves and Perception go to Expert. Your Short Sword goes to 2d6, and you can now search in Exploration as well as Scout. The Veteran upgrades at level 8. Your Int goes to +1, Strength to +2, and Con to +2. Your Armor item bonus goes to +2. All 3 skills and lore go to Expert, and you get a +1 to Stealth checks, which is an item bonus. Your strikes go to Expert, and you gain a +1 to hit. They become magical, get +2 to damage. So with your strength and everything, right now you have a +4 damage on your strikes. Off-guard damage, so the damage you get because they're off-guard when you strike them, goes to a d6 from a d4. Also, you gain a new feature called Exploit Injury. This is 1 action. If your last action was a strike against an off-guard enemy, the target is now off-guard until the end of your next turn. Exceptional upgrades at level 14. Dex goes to +5, Wisdom goes to +4, Strength goes to +3, and Con goes to +3. You can AC item bonus of +3 now. Your Reflex, Will, and Perception go to Master, Fort goes to Expert, and all of your saves get a +1 item bonus. Your Short Sword attacks go to +2 to hit and go to 3d6 damage, and your +2 damage goes to +4. When using Scout in Exploration, you can also avoid Notice and Search. So lots of exploration-based abilities with this Scout. So you can see here that there is a lot of focus on exploration mode with this follower, which does make it stand out versus the other two we looked at in a certain way. Having an ally that can actually help in exploration can be really valuable in campaigns that focus on exploration mode. So if you're going into exploration mode a lot in-game, this might be the right follower for you. Unfortunately, those bonuses are really completely useless otherwise, right? There's no value in a combat for all of these exploration benefits. So looking at it from the way that I see most games run, which is heavily around combat above the other aspects of the game, it's gonna kind of fall behind. Now, the rest of the kit isn't useless. The short sword damage is okay, right? You're starting with 1d6 +1 because you have +1 to strength. So that's not terrible. At least, it's not 1d10 levels of damage, but it's okay. Plus, if the enemy's off guard, you're going to be doing some damage there. If you are taking this as a melee combatant, flanking with your ally is probably not that hard. So getting an off-guard attack may actually be reliable enough where you might get that d4, making it a d6 and a d4 and a +1 damage. That all feels like it's coming up pretty good. So it may not be like Berserker levels of damage, but it could be pretty good as long as you can reliably get that off-guard bonus. I do like that the follower has a decent starting AC, well, higher than the others anyway, which is nice because at least it's almost filled out its AC, and it does fill out the AC from armor by level 4. Still, it's not a great amount of hit points, but it's okay. So with the AC and stuff, at least you're not going to get crit as often, which is at least a nice plus here. I do find Exploit Injury to be pretty tough here, though, because your follower's going to get 2 actions when you give them 1. Now you can spend 2 actions to give them 3 if you take a certain feat upgrade, and you might want to consider that if you go with this follower, but normally you're saying, I give up 1 action to give you 2. More often than not, this means your follower is going to be striding and then striking. In order to get value out of exploit injury, though, they have to already be flanking, pretty much, or going against an off-guard enemy, immediately to strike so they can follow up with this 1 action. And while making a creature off guard until the end of your next turn is great, the chance of pulling this off seems pretty low. So I don't know that you should rely on that really happening at all. I'm not going to discount the exploration boosts here in my ranking, because I do think if you took the scout, you took it knowing that those were going to be something you cared about. So I'm keeping that in mind. So because of that, I think this has better options than the medic, but I don't think it's quite as straightforward and valuable in like the general scenario as the Berserker. So I still think the Berserker is a little better than the Scout on average, but they're very close to me. They're interchangeable. If somebody wanted to argue that the Scout's slightly better than Berserker, I could certainly see it. Both are better than Medic, but my order right now is Berserker, Scout, Medic. Let's see if we can have anything unseat the Berserker, and we're going to jump into the Sharpshooter. Your starting hit points is only 4, which is not good. Your starting attribute modifiers are Dex +3, Con +1, Charisma +1, and Wisdom +2. Your armor kit is +1 item bonus and +4 to Dex cap. Your skills are Acrobatics, Stealth, and Hunting lore. You get a ranged strike. This is 1 action. It's a short bow with deadly D10, propulsive, ranged increment of 60 feet, and a reload of 0. It does 1d6 piercing damage. Your ability is Take Aim. This takes 2 actions, but you make a ranged strike with a +2 bonus to the attack roll. At level 4, your experience upgrades, your wisdom goes to +3, and your dex goes to +4. According to the book, your fortitude save and reflex saves go to expert, although I'm pretty sure it's a typo and it's supposed to be will save and reflex save. We'll talk about that later. So assume your will save and reflex saves are supposed to go to expert. Your short bow goes to 2d6. Creatures hit by your strikes have a -5 foot penalty to their movement speed, this is circumstance, and a -10 on critical hits for 1 round. Your veteran upgrades, your intelligence goes to +1, charisma to +2, and con to +2. Your item bonus goes to +2, your perception goes to expert, your skills and lore go to expert, and you randomly get intimidation to expert out of nowhere. Your strikes go to expert and gain a +1 to hit, item bonus +1 to hit, and they become magical and add a +2 damage, so same thing basically everybody's getting. Take Aim now ignores concealment, so if you use the 2-action version, you're going to ignore concealment as well. And we have the exceptional upgrade. So level 14, your dex goes to +5, wisdom to +4, charisma to +3, con to +3. Your AC bonus goes to +3. Your reflex and will saves go to master, which is why I thought it was a typo earlier, because reflex and will go to master, not fortitude. Your fortitude goes to expert, and all of these gain a +1 item bonus to your saves. Your acrobatics goes to master. Your short bow gains +2 to attack rolls, goes to 3d6 damage, and gets a damage bonus of +2 to +4. You gain a new action called Following Shot. This is a free action once per round when you crit with a strike and using a reload 0 weapon. You get to make another strike using the same multiple attack penalty as the last one, and then this adds to multiple attack penalty. This is a pretty big departure from the other 3 followers. Our first and only ranged follower, and it's all about damage. Low HP to start, but tied for the best AC at least to start, which helps. The damage for a ranged character is solid, even if the propulsive is completely wasted, right? Propulsive normally adds half your strength modifier to damage. They never buff their strength, so it's completely useless. And you can't give them items, by the way, to buff all their stats. You can't give them new weapons. This is just what they have. Having said that, no buff is needed here because it's range damage, and the Sharpshooter does just fine. The Deadly D10 is especially valuable here because the follower actually has a decent chance to crit. It's not incredible, but it's not bad because of Take Aim, right? You could take 2 individual shots and try to go with that, but Take Aim with that +2 is going to significantly increase your chance to hit and crit. Assuming you have good positioning, it's almost always going to be better to use your 2 actions to make that 1 shot with the higher attack modifier than to take 2 worse shots. But of course, if you have to move, then you just take the 1 shot, and that's completely fine. Ignoring concealment can actually be really useful because they don't have to roll a d20 just to see if they can even target it, which is massive. It doesn't come up all the time, right? So I'm not trying to overcount it, but it is important when it does come up. The movement speed penalty shouldn't be ignored, though. If a creature has a minus 5 foot circumstance penalty to its speeds, it cannot step. If you're attacking a creature next to a melee ally who has reactive strike, now that creature cannot simply step away, forcing a reactive strike if they want to move, which is a really good bonus to have. So don't discount that at all. On top of that, the following shot is fantastic. Even if it's not that likely to happen, because it does require a critical shot to happen first. So yes, you use your 2 actions to make a shot, it got a crit, now I can take another shot. Still, that's huge when it does come up. These are really solid bonuses to something that's already just laying out damage. I think that this could work well with a melee marshal, right, to set up those shots so they can't move away from you. It can work with a different range marshal, so you're both like targeting a single target and firing them down. It can work with a caster really well. This is a great support character to help a lot of different builds, and it just is very simple to use, right? You don't have to work hard to get the most out of it. The other thing I don't want to ignore, it gets a good charisma, not a crazy charisma, but a good one, and does eventually get expert in intimidation, meaning that it could demoralize. Having a follower that might use 1 action to demoralize with its intimidation and charisma and set up better situations for everybody is also quite valuable, because it's not using up your demoralize. That's its own demoralize. So, pretty solid there. Because of that, I think the Sharpshooter is the top of our current set of followers. Stands out above the Berserker, which is going to get into combat and possibly get crit a lot. So I'm going to put this at number 1. I think this is right now our strongest follower, but we have one left with the Shieldbearer. The Shieldbearer has a starting hit points of 8. It's got +1 in Dex, +2 in Con, +3 in Strength, and +1 in Wisdom. Its armor is a +5 item bonus and a +1 Dex cap, meaning it is maxed out from the word go. Your skills are Athletics, Survival, and Warfare lore. You get a melee strike, 1 action, longsword, versatile, piercing. It is 1d8 slashing, and keep in mind you have +3 to strength, so it's 1d8 +3. It also gains a second melee strike for 1 action. It's Shield Boss, which is 1d6 bludgeoning. So 2 different options for your strikes, which cover all 3 of the base damage types. The ability here is you carry a shield. It has hardness 5, hit points 20, and break threshold of 10. You can raise a shield as an action. This gains a reaction every time it is directed. So you direct your ally, it's going to gain a reaction, and it can only use that for the shield block reaction, but you have the shield block reaction, and as long as you're raising a shield, great, you can use it. It has a special here where it has a 5 foot speed penalty from the heavy armor. So it's a negative special, but it does have a reduced movement speed. At level 4, your experience upgrades, your +4 to strength, +3 to con. Your fortitude and will saves go to expert. Both weapons add an additional damage die. The shield hardness goes to 6, with hit points going to 40 and break threshold going to 20. If the shield bearer is adjacent to you and has shield raised, it can shield block an attack that's directed at you following normal shield block damage rolls. So it can block damage that you would normally take. The veteran upgrade at level 8, con goes to 4, int to 1, wisdom to +2. The armor bonus goes to a +6 and gains bulwark. The perception goes to expert. Skills and lore go to expert. You gain expert in crafting out of nowhere, and you get a kit necessary for doing crafting. Your strikes go to expert and gain a +1 to hit. They become magical and add +2 damage. Straight up, but that's for both of yours in this case. Your shield goes to hardness of 8, HP to 64, break to 32. You can now defend any adjacent ally with your shield block, not just yourself. So if you've got, you're a caster, you've got this shield bearer up front with one of your melee allies, they can shield block for that ally. It doesn't have to be you now. Exceptional upgrades. Your strength goes to +5, dex to +2, int to +2, and wisdom to +3. Your AC item bonus goes to +7. Your fortitude and will go to master, reflex to expert, and all these gain a +1 item bonus to your saves. Athletics goes to master, acrobatics to expert out of just nowhere. Your weapon attacks gain a +2 to hit. Both of your weapon attacks go to 3 dice, and you go from a +2 to damage to a +4 to damage. Shield goes to hardness of 10 with 100 hit points and a break threshold of 50. At this level, you gain an extra reaction each time you're directed. So you direct this ally, it's going to gain 2 reactions. The extra action can only be used to shield block for itself. So now it can use 1 to block for an ally and 1 to block for itself, or potentially both to block for itself. So lots of reactions to use that shield, which is great. Alright, so this really rounded us out with our solid defender. But is it just that? Honestly, it hits almost as hard as the Berserker. It's got the same +3 to damage from strength. It's got a 1d8, not a 1d10 strike, but I mean, we're not losing much there, so it's just a 1 average damage less. Yes, it doesn't have that when I take damage, I add 1 to my damage situation, but that's not huge anyway. Even by end, by level 14, this is only 5 less average damage per strike than the Berserker's doing. With absolutely crazy AC, without even raising a shield, this follower is very unlikely to be crit early on. Once they're raising a shield, really, they're almost never going to be crit. Then they gain Bulwark, which is just so very strong. The ability to defend itself, you and others, really helps boost it up, right? It's not just themselves, they're not keeping themselves alive, but they're also potentially keeping you alive or your allies alive. Some rounds, you might want to use the follower to defend, sometimes to attack, but either way, you're actually getting a lot out of it, and you're going to be happy with what they're doing. The chance that the follower is going to drop, by the way, is going to be pretty low, between both decent hit points and their really, really high AC. This is another follower that feels like a good fit on just about any character, honestly, because it can aid all sorts of allies. It doesn't just have to aid you, but it can aid you. It can be your blocker if you're ranged or a caster. It can be your ally flanking up close. It could be next to you rather than flanking to keep you protected. Having looked at all of what's available with this defender, I think it's obvious that this is either, number 1 or number 2 in the ranking. But I think I'm going to give the edge to the defender here. Damage is the only thing to the Sharpshooter's bow, and yes, it's got good damage, but the defender's got damage as well as survivability, as well as defensive boosts for your allies. This just does all sorts of things really, really well, and it doesn't feel like you're ever going to feel like the defender was a bad choice. So in the end, defender takes first place. On screen, you'll see the final placements of the followers, with defender taking the top spot, and the medic sadly taking our bottom spot. But here's the thing. I think all of them are actually good. I didn't tier rank them because I feared that they would all live just between A and B anyway, so it didn't feel that exciting to tier rank them. I don't see anyone feeling like they made a bad choice by taking Captain and taking any of the followers. I think you'll be happy to have them. I love the way that this builds on the minion mechanics we already have. I actually like this a lot better than I like a lot of the Beast setups that we get with Beastmaster, so I do think you should take a look at this. But what do you think? Did I miss something huge? I often do. How would you rank them? Would you maybe say the medic is the strongest because it can heal people? Maybe you think the defender is useless because it doesn't run as far as everybody else? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, adventure on!